There's been a lot of talk about the catching meter, and a lot of people are not liking it. A lot of people are even recommending you to turn it off. I'm gonna tell you why in this video, why it makes absolutely no sense to turn it off and why you should always be playing with it on. Let's get into it. So first, let's get rid of some rumors real quick about this catching meter, okay? Because there's some information out there that's not true. Number one, if you get a green timing, it is not an automatic catch. Okay, so don't think just because somebody learns the timing of green that's an automatic catch. Number two, it's very hard to learn the timing. This isn't like NBA 2K jump shot where you can just go into practice mode and once you get your timing down with your specific player, all of a sudden you can just greenlight it. Now, the question is that people have as well, what happens when the wide receiver gets a green meter and the defensive back gets a green meter at the same time? Who wins that one? Again, I played the beta, so I can't speak about it directly, but I'll say rumor has it that when it's a green for a wide receiver and a green for a defensive back, those pretty much cancel each other out and the game's engine kind of defaults to what it always has, which is the player ratings and the position of where your player is standing versus the other player. This green light is not the same every single time. It shrinks depending on coverage, depending on your player's rating, depending on if your player is rattled or not. And if I can remember correctly, the green part in the catch meter sometimes shifts a little bit over to the left or shifts a little bit over to the right. So it's never in the same spot every time. Also, it's very important because people keep comparing this to 2K's meter and it is not the same thing. Remember in 2K, you can go way late on your release or you can go way early on your release. But you have to remember, this catching meter doesn't have an extremely early release where it's a guaranteed miss if you're way too early, like you would see on the NBA 2K jump shot meter. The reason why it doesn't make any sense not to play with this on is because even if you're extremely early, all it's gonna do is land you in this big yellow portion of the catch meter. And when you're in this early portion of the catch meter, it's just gonna play it as it's always played it the last 20 plus years of football games. It's gonna default to the player rating of you and the defensive back. It's gonna default to your positioning as a wide receiver or defensive back if you're trying to catch this as a defensive back, because you can use the meter as a defensive back as well. We're going to get into that in a second. So here's why it doesn't make sense why not to use it, because let's say that you're scared about dropping passes. Okay, treat it like you have been treating the catch button the last 20 plus years in football games. If you tap it or press it normally like you have been the last 20 years, it will land somewhere in this yellow. That's gonna treat it like it always has treated the catch button the last 20 years if you land in this yellow. The reason why I suggest always having this on as well is because it gives you a chance to make some tough catches when you need to make tough catches. Now remember, the green is not an automatic catch, but think of it as it gives your player some type of a performance boost to say, hey, he's gonna make a catch that maybe he normally wouldn't make. It's not guaranteed, but it gives him a much higher chance to make a tough catch that he normally wouldn't make. This is a great thing because if you actually understand football in real life, you might see an average wide receiver who hasn't really done much all season, all of a sudden he pulls off an incredible one-handed catch. Same thing, sometimes you see a great wide receiver drop an easy pass, okay? Now again, with this meter, it's very hard to drop easy passes because again, let's use this Ryan Williams example of him dropping the ball here. He's a talented wide receiver, drops a wide open pass right here, okay? Here's why you don't have to really worry about that in college football 27, even if you're using the meter. Let's say that this play was actually taking place inside the video game of college football 27. In this scenario, you wouldn't even be trying to land the catch meter on the green portion anyways because you're wide open. In this scenario, all you do is just press the catch button normally, and as long as it lands anywhere in the yellow, when you're this wide open, you're gonna catch the ball 99 out of 100 times in the video game. Just like in previous 20 plus years of football games, Very rarely would your player drop this pass even if he's a low rated player because he's wide open. The risk to using this meter is extremely low because this isn't something you actually have to use on every single catch. What I mean by that is you don't have to be trying to time a green on every single catch. The best way to do it is treat the green part in the meter as I need an important catch type of situation. So let's use an example. Some of my favorite moments in sports is always when two players find themselves on an island, one-on-one, even if it's a team sport. So in basketball, when somebody calls somebody out for an ISO, that's exciting to me because you get to see two world-class athletes kind of put their skills up together one-on-one without the interference of teammates for a second. That's why I love the fade route in football. It's that being out there on an island type of situation where you're seeing two world-class athletes get to show off their skill set. They're gonna be scrapping, getting physical, fighting to see who can come down with the ball, who can prevent the other person from getting the ball. That's always been one of my favorite plays to watch in football. Now with this new implementation, fade routes have become a lot more exciting. All the routes really have become more exciting, but especially fade routes, we're now starting to get that little one-on-one duel situation. That's why I do wish that they would add a meter for a defensive back swat as well. So when you're trying to swat the ball as a defensive back, I would love to see a meter with that. That way you could really start to get these one-on-one situations where things really start to come alive when it comes to skill set. If you get snagged on by somebody in a one-on-one situation, you feel like, all right, he just outskilled me. If I would go up as a defensive back and knock the ball loose or intercept it in a jump ball situation, it's gonna make me feel like, all right, I outskilled the other person, instead of just sitting back and letting the game engine kind of do a dice roll of animations. Let's go back to the fade route example for a second and how the meter is gonna affect that this year. Now you can throw that jump ball up there, and if you are skilled enough to time it, you can actually go get some of those contested catches. In past years, and when I say past years, really in all football games that have come out in the last 20 years, when you try to do a fade route, you pretty much just throw it up and say, well, I hope the game just gives me the catch, you know what I mean? I don't know what it's gonna do because I have no control other than just pressing a button and letting the engine, the game engine and the system underneath the hood kind of do a dice roll type of scenario where you just hoping that you come down with the ball. But let's say you got a tall wide receiver and you want to say, you know what? I don't want the game to just dice roll this with ratings. Let me actually input some skill so my wide receiver can go up and make a great play. But again, it's not guaranteed, but I'll risk trying to get that green on a fade route. The risk is when you try to get that green, the green is gonna be right next to that red spot. When you land it in the red, of course, you drop guaranteed. So you have an option. Do you just play it normal with the yellow meter? Do you try to green meter it and risk accidentally holding it too long to get into the red? So that's the high risk, high reward, and I think it's beautifully implemented, which is, hey, if you want that extra ratings boost, we're gonna put that extra ratings boost green area next to the full consequence area, which is the red meter. So it makes you have to choose. As a defensive back, you have the ability to counter that, where you say, you know what, I can go up and snag that here in the red zone if I need to. You can really fight on those fade routes. I highly recommend using this because let's use another scenario. Let's say it's 3rd and 12 and there's a minute left on the clock. You don't have any timeouts, so you know this is going to be your last drive of the game. If it's 3rd and 12, let's say the pressure comes and you're forced to kind of get rid of it early and your wide receiver is still heavily contested, heavily guarded. I am gonna manually switch to the wide receiver and say, I need a tough catch here because it's 3rd and 12. I don't wanna be stuck with 4th and 12, no timeouts and have to pull off a miracle. Let me try to go make a tough catch here. I'll risk getting a green on the meter and risk possibly holding it too long and getting into the red. I'll risk that because I need a catch here, or at least I need to increase my chances at a catch here, because remember, green does not mean it's a catch. It still gets knocked out, not just with hit sticks, but even when I see defensive players time it perfectly with a SWAT mechanic, okay? So again, going back to that scenario, you can say, you know what? I had to get rid of the ball early. My wide receiver is highly contested. Let me go ahead for the high risk, high reward type of green catch because I need it. My team needs this catch. So that's how you can kind of balance using this meter. Don't think of it as a thing that people can go and really just abuse like the NBA shot meter. This is not the same meter, okay? It doesn't work the same as that either. So I highly suggest using it because, again, I think it replicates simulation football. How many times have we played as a player, some guy playing wide receiver makes a great catch over you, and you kind of feel like you were just stuck, like you had no impact other than just pressing a button and hoping that the dice roll algorithms of the game come out in your favor. Now they're finally giving you that opportunity to say, all right, I'm gonna give you some manual control. If you're a defensive back and you feel like you should be able to go get a ball in traffic, you have a chance to, but if you miss, you could whiff and completely miss, and the wide receiver catches it and scores. Same thing as a wide receiver. How many times, I felt that jump ball situations in all football games, really, the past 20 years, jump ball situations have been not fun because I felt like you just kind of press the button and hope that things happen in your way. Now they give you a chance to really feel like a big physical wide receiver who can go get jump balls if you have the skill to time it. I highly suggest you leave this on. And even if you do time it perfectly with the green, there's still enough chances for the ball to get knocked out to where you're not feeling like even when you get a green that anything is guaranteed. Now there is a group of people out there who are gonna say, well, I don't like the UI being out there. I don't want the meter being out there. Some people think it takes away from their immersion, or some people think it's distracting, can't see. You can turn that off. You can have this effect on, right? You can have wide receiver and DB catch timing on and the meter turned off at the same time. So the mechanic is still happening, but you don't have to have the distracting meter going off on top of your player if you feel like it's distracting. The green meter is not always in the exact same spot. When it does shrink down, it's not always in the exact same area. It might be a little bit to the left of the meter. It might be a little bit more to the right of the meter this time when it shrinks down. So it's not something that somebody can just close their eyes and still get greens just like you could on NBA 2K jump shots. That's not going to be happening here. I think this is a great first step foundational system that I hope they build on. One thing I do hope they change, I hope that they can add a spot to where you can choose where you want the meter. Some people might want it above the wide receivers. Some people might want it below where the feet are on the icons. I hope they give an opportunity to actually adjust that. And here's the great thing too, you can control where you want it to activate, right? So you can control, do I want this to activate past 5 yards, only catches past 5 yards? Sometimes that might make sense, right? It might be hard to try to time a green on a quick slant, but I always say this, you might not be wanting to try to get a green there anyways, right? So don't think that just because the meter is on, that means you gotta go for a green catch every time in order to have a chance to catch the ball. Land anywhere in the yellow and it's the exact same as the last 20 years of football games you've been playing, where it's just gonna depend on ratings and player positioning. So even if you leave it on under 5 yards, who cares? Just tap the button, it's gonna give you the same result as the last 20 years. This is really to be used where you feel like you need to go make a tough catch, a catch that you know your player might normally not make unless you try to time it. But the fact that they gave us that option is a great thing. I think people are so scared of meters because of what 2K is, where it's like, all right, if I don't get that green release, I'm probably about to miss this shot. This meter does not work that way. So I keep seeing people say, you need to turn this off and I'm not gonna play with this. Again, it doesn't make sense, and they haven't been able to explain why you would want to do this if playing with it on is the exact same thing, unless you're trying to go for that extra boost with the green. So that's never a bad thing to me when a game adds more user control rather than just sitting back and letting the game engine handle things. For those who actually like realistic football, for those of us who want more control over the outcomes instead of just watching the computer play out some scenario where we just gotta sit back and see who comes down with a catch. Now it's giving us more control. This is one of the best implementations EA Sports has ever made in any of their sports games, because it's giving us more control over a very important part of football, which is catching the ball. Somebody explain to me, why is that a bad thing? But I will be back for more College Football 27. I have some other things to talk about as well, so I will see you all soon.